Hello and welcome to Best English Podcast. I'm Joe.
Great to be here.
So let's talk about something maybe everyone's felt. Have you ever just known something, like deep down?
That gut feeling. Right.
Exactly, a gut feeling. It's that really strong sense that something's true or maybe right for you, even when you can't quite, explain why you feel that way.
Yeah, or what people sometimes call intuition. Basically, it's understanding something almost instantly without having to consciously reason it all out.
Right, and you sometimes hear things like women's intuition or a mother's intuition.
We do hear that, yeah. But it's really important to say intuition isn't actually limited, to women or to parents. It's a human thing.
Absolutely. So today we want to dig into what intuition really is and maybe figure out when it's actually, sensible to trust it.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, psychology gives us a helpful model, doesn't it? This idea of two systems of thinking, system one and system two.
Right. System one is pretty much that intuition we were just talking about. It's automatic, super fast.
And it works on things like association.
Which is just connecting different ideas or feelings in your mind.
And recognition memory.
Yeah, just remembering something you've seen or experienced before.
So, like, you see a dog down the street, and it looks a bit like your own dog. And your first impulse is maybe, oh, cute dog, I want to pet it.
That's system one. Quick, based on that positive association with your dog.
But then system two kicks in.
Exactly. System two needs conscious effort. You actually have to think.
Conscious effort meaning you deliberately focus your mind.
Right. So, with the dog example, system two is the bit that goes, hang on, that's not my dog. Is it friendly? Should I approach? You stop and analyze.
Okay, so system two is obviously vital for, like, the big stuff. Choosing a college, who to vote for, things that need careful thought.
Definitely. You need that deliberate analysis. But that doesn't mean system one, the gut feeling, is useless. It can actually be very valuable sometimes.
When, though? When can you rely on it?
Well, one key area is expertise, if you're truly an expert in something.
An expert being someone with tons of knowledge and skill in one specific area.
Precisely. Then your intuition in that area can be remarkably accurate. Think of, say, a chess grandmaster.
Right, they make moves incredibly quickly.
They do. And often those quick, intuitive moves are brilliant. It's not magic, though.
No. What is it then?
It comes from just a massive bank of memories built up over thousands of hours of practice and playing. Their brain recognizes patterns instantly, even if they don't consciously think through every single variation.
So it's trained intuition based on experience.
Exactly. And this kind of expert intuition develops best in certain environments.
Like what?
Environments where there are regular patterns. Things happen in predictable ways, more or less.
Okay, regular patterns.
And crucially, where you get feedback. You find out pretty quickly if your decision was good or bad.
Feedback. Information on whether you got it right. Makes sense.
So think chess again. Clear rules, immediate feedback, poker too, to some extent. Or experienced firefighters, they often sense danger before they can explain why. Clinical nurses developing a feel for when a patient is subtly declining.
Gotcha. So areas with patterns and feedback loops.
Right. Contrast that with something like, say, the stock market.
Much
Harder. Much harder. Why? Because it's incredibly complex, so many unpredictable factors.
Complex meaning. Lots of moving parts, hard to grasp everything.
Exactly. And the feedback you get is often, vague. Did the stock go up because of your brilliant insight or just random market fluctuation?
Yeah, it's often unclear. Vague feedback. So it's hard to train your intuition effectively there.
Very difficult. Doesn't mean people don't have gut feelings about stocks. But relying on them is much riskier than relying on a firefighter's gut feeling about a burning building.
Okay, so expertise is one area. What about other situations?
Well, there's some interesting research suggesting that for purely personal decisions, the ones that mainly just affect you going with your gut might actually lead to you being happier with the choice.
Really? How so?
There was a study, I think back in 2018, quite neat. People had to choose between two DVD players. Remember those?
Vaguely, yes.
Some were told to analyze everything logically, specs, features, reviews. Others are just told, go with your gut. The gut feeling group reported that their choice felt more like it reflected their true inner self.
Reflected meaning. It showed or represented who they really are, their inner self being their genuine personality and feeling.
Exactly that. It felt more authentic to them.
Interesting. Were there follow-up studies?
Yeah, and they found similar things. The intuitive choices led to more certainty. People felt more sure about their decision.
Certainty? Feeling confident about it.
Right. And they were also more likely to actually tell their friends about the choice they made.
So for personal stuff, trusting your intuition might help you feel happier, more certain,
Yeah.
and like the choice is more genuine.
It seems that way. Genuine, as in really true to you. It suggests that sometimes, for things that are about personal preference, our gut knows what will satisfy us better than our analytical brain does.
So what's actually going on in the brain when we have these intuitive feelings? Is it just magic?
Not quite magic. It really boils down to the brain's amazing ability to spot patterns and learn from past experiences, often without us even realizing it's happening.
Below the surface, kinda.
Yeah, unconsciously. There's a part of the brain, the hippocampus, it's heavily involved in memory, which seems to play a big role in making these intuitive judgments based on all that stored past learning, even if you're not consciously recalling specific past events.
So our unconscious mind, the part we're not directly aware of, is constantly making little judgments based on instinct.
Pretty much. Instinct being that sort of natural, inbuilt feeling guiding you towards or away from something. Think about maybe meeting someone new and just getting a weird vibe, a feeling they aren't being totally honest.
Yeah, I've had that. And sometimes you find out later you were right.
Exactly. Now, that probably wasn't you being psychic. It was more likely your unconscious brain picking up on tiny little cues.
Cues, like signals.
Yeah, subtle signals. Maybe their eye contact wasn't quite steady or there was a slight hesitation in their voice. Things your conscious mind might miss, but your pattern recognizing unconscious flags it based on past experiences where those cues were linked to dishonesty.
Wow. Okay, so it's pattern recognition happening super fast and unconsciously.
That seems to be a big part of it.
Which brings us back to that phrase, gut feeling. Why the gut? Is there a real connection?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just a metaphor. There's a very real, very strong connection between the brain and the digestive system. The gut-brain axis, they call it. You actually have neurons, those specialized brain cells that transmit information lining your abdominal organs. Millions of them.
Neurons in your belly. Seriously?
Seriously, it's sometimes called the second brain. This network allows for constant two-way communication between your head brain and your gut brain.
So when your brain senses something is off,
That message can travel down to your gut, and you might feel it physically. That knot in your stomach, butterflies, a general unease, those can be real physiological responses triggered by what your brain is picking up on, intuitively or consciously.
that makes so much sense. It explains the physical sensation.
It does, and there's a classic study that really shows this unconscious processing in action. A card game study from 2004.
Okay, tell me about it.
Right, so people played this game with 4 decks of cards. 2 decks were secretly rigged to be bad. They gave small wins frequently, looking tempting, but bam, every now and then, a huge loss that wiped you out.
Okay, sneaky.
And the other 2 decks were good. Smaller, less exciting wins maybe, but also much smaller losses. Over time, you definitely come out ahead with the good decks.
Makes sense. So people had to figure out which decks were good.
Yeah. And logically, consciously, it took most people about, say, 40 or 50 card draws to figure it out and start consistently picking from the good decks.
Okay, but
But here's the fascinating part. Long before they could tell you which decks were bad, their bodies knew.
how?
They measured skin conductance, basically, how much people were sweating, a sign of stress or arousal. And they found that participants started showing a stress response, a spike in sweat, just as their hand reached for a cord from one of the bad decks.
Wow, even before they consciously knew it was a bad choice.
Exactly. Their brains, or maybe their gut-brain connection, had already made the association. Uh-oh, this deck leads to bad things, even though their conscious, logical mind hadn't caught up yet.
That's incredible. It shows the unconscious learning happening first.
Definitely. And they took it a step further. They had people play the same game who had damage to a specific part of the brain called the orbitofrontal cortex.
The orbitofrontal cortex.
Yeah.
What does that do in simple terms?
It's right at the front of your brain, and it's really important for integrating your emotions and feelings into your decisions and plans, helping you use those gut feelings, basically.
Okay, so what happened with those patients?
They didn't show that predictive stress response before picking from the bad decks.
Ah,
And even when they could intellectually say, yeah, those 2 decks seem to be losing me money, they often kept picking from them. They didn't have that gut level warning signal telling them, stop.
so without that gut feeling integration, their decision-making suffered, even if they understood the logic.
Precisely. It shows how that lack of intuitive feeling can, negatively impact everyday choices,
Yeah.
making things worse for them, essentially, even if their overall intelligence was still intact, still working fine otherwise.
That really highlights how important that emotional, intuitive component can be.
It really does. It's not just about logic.
So wrapping this up then, intuition, or gut feeling, it's clearly a real thing. Not mystical, but rooted in how our brain learns and spots patterns, often unconsciously.
Absolutely. And it can be a genuinely useful tool, especially, as we said, if you have real expertise in an area or when you're making those purely personal choices where satisfaction is key.
But it's not foolproof. You wouldn't want to make every decision on gut feeling alone, right?
Oh, definitely not. Especially for complex decisions with high stakes where you can get objective evidence. It's about balance, using your rational mind, gathering facts where possible, but also not completely dismissing that intuitive nudge, finding that sweet spot.
Balance sounds key. Maybe just paying a bit more attention to those feelings during the day could be helpful. See what they might be telling us.
Couldn't hurt. It's another stream of information, potentially quite valuable.
Okay, great stuff. So a final thought for everyone listening. Can you think back to a time when your own intuition really strongly guided you and turned out to be right, even before you could rationally explain why you felt that way? Something to ponder.
Yeah. It's always interesting to reflect on those moments.